That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to High School to Higher Ed, a father-daughter perspective, a special Pulse Check mini-series brought to you by Enrollify. I'm Emma Cavanagh, a 9th grader just starting high school.
And I'm Kevin Cavanagh, Emma's dad, and an enrollment management professional for the last 30 years.
This series is about seeing the college admissions process through a different perspective, mine. We'll explore how young people are beginning to perceive college, the messages they're getting from counselors, family, and even colleges themselves.
By stepping into these early conversations, we hope to offer some real insights for enrollment managers and marketers, things you can't find in the data, but in real everyday moments.
Let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome to another episode of High School to Higher Ed, a father-daughter perspective.
You got it this time.
I botched the name of our show at the conclusion of our last episode. So good to be with you again, Emma.
Good to be with you.
Emma is fresh off a big nap, huh?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's she's preparing for an AP test and studied with her friends for about 7 hours today straight, something along those lines. And then recalled that we needed to do the podcast. So she said, I need a bit of a nap. So she took a nap and now she's, I think, fired up and ready to go.
I thought it was the next day.
So we promised people on the last episode when we finished off that we would kind of follow the bouncing ball, and the bouncing ball being you start on Naviance and Big Future and some of the other websites that you've been set up with by your school counselors. You've started to get a lot of communication from schools, mostly email, but some print and social media communication. And a lot of it is driving you then to go to websites. And that's really always the trick of the trade, is to try to get you to interact with the college's website. That's like the front porch of college admissions offices. So we said that we'd spend a little bit of time having you review all of the college websites that you've been encouraged to visit. So you had homework to do for this episode by going through. How many websites did you say you went through?
Maybe 10.
10 websites. All right. So we've got some winners and we've got some losers, right?
Well, we're not going to name the losers.
We're not going to name the losers.
You have to go to college in a couple of years.
Yeah. That's the rule of this podcast is let's lift up those that have done well, but because Emma might be applying to a few of the not so great ones, we're not going to call them out on a podcast just yet. One thing that we always talk about is the national holidays, and we try to find a way to stretch getting a national holiday in. So there's a couple of questionable holidays here that wouldn't be great for a podcast or college admissions. But today is May 22nd, and it is National Vanilla Pudding Day. So it's a bit of a stretch, but we're going to talk about some of the websites that are awesome and some websites that are, according to you, a bit vanilla and could be used to a little spicing up. And if colleges are spending a lot of money marketing to high school kids, it needs to have a little flavor. You know what I mean? Couple things, and we'll get into this and summarize at the end. But I think what we'll find is that visuals are really important. Really clear navigation is important to you.
Yes.
First impressions matter, and we'll talk about how much they matter. Design and aesthetics, I think, play a key role in your opinion on all of these things, and getting to the point, just being concise, really key in your evaluation. So let's start with the good. Let's start on a good note here. Mm-hmm. Tell me about. And since these are sort of the good, we'll mention them by name.
We'll give a little plug.
We'll give a little plug to these schools that work so hard on their marketing. So you identified 4 that you generally like. So yes. Pick one and we'll start with them.
We'll start with James Madison University.
Okay. So James Madison University is one of those schools that not necessarily on your list per se, but has been a school that's been communicating to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we called them out sort of last season in some of the print materials that they sent. They had some
Yes.
pretty good stuff, right?
They got another mention in our podcast episode about their letters and their other communications. So
Yeah.
feel
So
free to check those out if you haven't checked them out yet.
whoever's running point at James Madison University is doing a good job in the
Yeah.
eyes of this ninth grader. All right. So what was it about their website that you liked?
So I think that they had really easy access to important information, and the colleges that I liked the most, they all had that information bar at the top of their website, like a menu that would say apply, learn more about us, contact us, all those kinds of things. And so that makes it really easy to access the most important information. So that's definitely helpful. And then it was visually appealing, and the beginning of the website had a nice inspiring video. So
Right. So when you say inspiring, do you remember? I know this was a couple days ago that you looked at it, but was there anything specific about that video that really caught your eye?
it was just showing kind of around campus, and it was just like it showed some of the activities that they have on campus that maybe you wouldn't think about going to a school, but it was like exciting for someone looking at schools, I guess.
Okay. And then another school that you liked their website and that has communicated with you is Tufts. So
Yes.
why don't you tell me a little bit more about what your first reaction to Tufts was?
I think it was like very simple and straightforward, but it wasn't underwhelming either. Because I think a lot of colleges are trying to put so much information on the main page of their website at one time, and that's just kind of information overload, and that's not helping get the actual important information. And so I think their website allowed easy access to information because they also had a bar at the top of their website, and it had a perfect balance of information on their first page. It wasn't too underwhelming and it wasn't too overwhelming.
University of Alabama.
Yeah.
I think I know why University of Alabama is on this list. I don't know it's necessarily a school that you're actively considering as a ninth grader, but for those listening, I don't think we talked about it too much in the last batch of episodes that we did, but you're very eager to be a journalist.
Yeah.
And if you've got a journalist that you're a fan of, it's Caitlin Collins from CNN. And Caitlin Collins went to University of Alabama. So you follow that
Yeah.
line of thinking. And, this is probably why Emma has spent some time on University of Alabama's website, which is why you've gotten some communications from them.
But that is not why I chose to like it as one of the best. It wasn't
Oh,
biased.
why? So tell me why.
I liked the video. They had a video just like James Madison on the top of their website. And I just like the way that it's formatted. They don't have a bar at the top, but right under the video, they have options to schedule a tour, apply, donate, and just like some important information about athletics or just other things that you would need to know about the school. So I think that that's really helpful. And I do really like the videos at the top of the websites.
Okay, so check out Alabama's videos. They resonate well with the ninth grader. And then the last one that you picked to highlight is the Nittany Lions of Penn State. So what was it about the Penn State website that caught your eye?
It was very aesthetically pleasing.
How so? Like, what do you
My
mean by
favorite
that?
color is blue,
Oh.
and the website's very blue, but it's very well organized. So that it's like there's not a lot at once, so also not information overload, but that also makes it aesthetically pleasing because it's just like all very nice and neat.
I guess it matters. You've got to do a website with your college's colors and your college's brand,
Yes,
but it just goes. Go
I
ahead.
do like them when they do websites that are mostly themed around their color.
Yeah, and most do, but it just goes back to, something that I've always said that, the work of enrollment managers and enrollment marketers at the end of the day comes back down to the tastes of high school age students, which could be fickle. So like you said, I
But
like the Penn State website because it's my favorite color. Like,
it's not just about it being my favorite color, but also it's hard to explain if you don't go on the website, but the whole website is just different shades of blue and a little bit of white. So it's mostly blue, and it makes me I like the way it looks, not even because it's blue. If it was like red and it had a deep red, a light red, and a transparent red, that would also be just as good.
You'll have to explain to me later what a transparent red is, but I guess your
You know what
takeaway
I mean?
is
It's like see-through.
translucent.
That's the word.
But anyway, I think the takeaway is rich colors is what you like, and not a lot of white space.
Yes.
Okay.
But also, it can't be things being filled up so much by graphics. It's more just the use of the different colors, not information overload. Because I think the worst thing that a college website can be is like information and too much information.
All right. Well, so let's pivot to some of the folks that we didn't call them losers in our notes. We said these websites need improvement. That's kind of need improvement, but we're not going to mention the names of the schools. So,
No.
but we will try to. So we identified 3 or 4 here. I think 3. So we share the notes. The name of the school is in the notes. So let me tee up the schools for the listeners, and then you can dive in with your analysis. So the first school is a mid-sized university in a very large city, private institution. So go ahead, Emma. That's you tell us what you did not like about this institution's website.
As I said before, it had a lot of information. It was kind of just information overload. And it also just wasn't pleasing to the eye. There was a lot of, like, the font wasn't really attractive and it didn't flow well, I guess. Like, because of how much information was on the website, there wasn't a good amount of organization and it kind of was just everywhere. So I didn't like that.
Okay.
I didn't feel like I was getting important information.
Well, and I looked at it, and the reason why I wanted to point out your comments on Penn State is that I think this website is a perfect example of the opposite, in that this is a school that's got some rich traditions, and every time you see any branding of theirs, it's deeply branded with their school colors. But their website is particularly white, a lot of blank space. Only it's like their true color is only a secondary or tertiary color on their website. They've used some iconography that look a little outdated, and
It looks like
choppy.
it looks outdated. It doesn't look like well put together or nicely graphics or anything like that. It's just blurbs of text that are maybe the size of like your pointer finger and your thumb together. I don't know how to explain it because we're not.
That's not. I don't think that's a font size. I don't know.
No, so the blurbs are this size. The
blurbs are small or the blurbs are big. What are you trying to say?
It's just there's a lot of small blurbs of information that aren't organized into any graphics. They're just there.
Okay, so they're like there's tiles of
Yes,
blocks of.
That's a good way to explain it.
Okay, so various blocks peppered along the website with
Pinch your finger to thumb.
Pinch your finger to thumb. Good luck with that, folks. All right, so the next institution is a private institution, mid-size university in another large city. If you see a theme here, Emma wants to go to school in a city. So that's why some of these schools are communicating to her, because she's already expressed some interest. So mid-sized private university in a large city. Go, Emma. What's your thoughts on this institution's website?
So they have a video at the top of their website, and they also have that information bar, but as soon as you scroll down, there's just big graphics that you can't even look at the whole graphic of like the whole block of information without scrolling down to see the rest of it. So it's just like really big. There's a lot of different things that aren't necessarily important.
Tell me what you mean by information that's not, what did you just say? Information that's not helpful or relevant?
Helpful.
Explain that.
It's just when I go onto a college website, I'm looking for some stuff about the college, about the campus, about the activities that they have. And they do have some of that, but they are kind of almost bragging about the things that they have, and they're ranking themselves based off, like, I don't know where they got the rankings from, but they're ranking themselves for all these different majors, which is kind of helpful, but I'm more looking for what do you have to offer for people that go to that major. So for me, journalism, do you have like a studio that we can do our own shows in and anchor our own shows? Or is there something else that you have for journalism? But they're just kind of showing how people are ranking them and their education, which isn't very helpful. And then they also have news and events, which I guess if you're a senior, that could be more helpful, but they don't really have much to do with being a high school student. It's more for people that would actually be going to the college. So I just think that there's information that can be taken out of here to make it less overwhelming.
Well, I'm glad you raised this because what I noticed in that school's website is that it seems to me like it's part of the age-old debate on college campuses of what's the point of a website. So an enrollment marketer or an enrollment manager will say a website's primary function is to attract prospective students to the school. Other people on a college campus will say, no, it's important that we get a lot of information out there for prospective donors to digest, or, we want to get information out there to, boast our faculty's research and otherwise. And that, it's important that people see, what things our faculty and our students are doing in news feeds or things along those lines. So it gets into this debate. I would imagine that there was a discussion on the campus of how we wanted to format the website, and the enrollment people didn't win as much as they wanted to win relative to the other voices on the campus. And so more of the real estate of the website went to things that were not prospective student driven. So I did see a lot of news clippings about events that they've had on campus, speakers that they've had on campus, and they're not like brand name speakers that would be attractive to high school students. They were scholars in sub areas that might have been great for students in that major, but or potentially donors, but not something that really wows a young person like yourself. And then the last website is Performance School, number one, like a fine arts performing school. Really interesting that they got your information, because I don't believe anywhere that you've expressed any interest in doing anything relative to the fine
No,
arts. This is the same institution that we spoke about in some of our original.
they wanted me to audition.
Yeah, they wanted you to audition, and they were just probably the worst carpet bomber of emails, just constantly sent, sometimes 2 emails a day. So I guess I'm not terribly surprised that you put them in the needs improvement category, but do you have anything specific that you want to share about that website?
Their website is very bare bones, very minimum. It doesn't look professional. They do have a video at the top of their website, but it's really just highlighting some of the work that has happened at the school since it's performing a performing arts school. So I guess if you're actually interested in going to a performing arts school, this might be helpful or exciting, but at least for me, it isn't. And then they do have the bar at the top, but after you scroll down, they just show events that are coming up, social media, different works, people that used to go to the school, which I don't think is very relevant to like the website itself, because I think that school should be able to prove that they're worthy of you going to their school without you needing to see who their alumni are that are like
Oh,
the top
interesting.
alumni. I just didn't like it overall based on those things. And it just didn't highlight the important information. It has it at the top, but it just didn't go into more depth about it underneath. It went into more depth about the events that they have coming up, which isn't really relevant to students in high school.
My takeaway from looking at that was it wasn't very student focused. It was industry focused. So it really, much of the website catered to, performances that graduates are doing, or, industry, music drops that, their graduates are doing. So sort of focusing on outcomes from my perspective. And I wonder if that's a strategy of theirs, that they want to justify the expense of going to their school and attracting students to their school by really honing in on outcomes less so than the actual curricula or student experience outside of the classroom, because it was starkly more about what our graduates are doing.
Yeah, I'm looking right now, and they have their news articles on what's going on at the school, which I enjoy to look at because I want to be a journalist. And it has like different award shows for professionals. It has all of the tags under the article are alumni. So it's all of their stories are about alumni. And then they have a whole section going through the alumni from their school that are well known. So it's just like all they're doing is flashing who used to go to their school. And there's maybe 10 people that they're showing on their website when there's thousands of people that have gone to their school.
Yep. Yep. So we're done with that website, Emma. And now let's talk a little bit as we're starting to close up this episode of, uh, first of all, how important really are these websites to you? That all of these emails were driving you to go to these websites. We spend a lot of time as admissions and marketing people getting the websites right. But do you, as a ninth grader, this sort of younger generation of high school students, do you think you're going to use these websites a lot? I mean, it's an honest question. Maybe it's yes, maybe it's no. But what do you think?
I don't think the website and the way it looks is going to impact whether or not I go to the college. If I'm really interested in the school, I might go to their website to look for open houses or any events that are coming up that I could go visit the school, or if I'm looking for a specific thing on their website. Also applications, but that's more senior year. But I don't think that the website itself is going to be the deciding factor between me going to the school and me not going to the school. So overall, I don't think it's like very important in my mind, but they are definitely useful tools for if I need to know something about the school or their programs or their events.
Well, let me ask you this. Did you see anything in any of these websites that made you say, I am now more interested in this school than I was prior to visiting the website? Like, are any of these websites make you more excited about exploring the school a little bit more?
No.
Did you see anything on any of these websites that said, you know what, I thought of this school at a certain level or certain level of interest, and then I saw their website, and now I think less of their school, and or I am less interested in exploring the school in the future?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think
So,
the one performing arts school I already wasn't really interested in,
right,
so
right,
seeing their
right.
website just it wasn't necessarily a turn off because I was never planning on looking at it, but it just like I just won't be going on their website anymore. And I also think there's one other school that is definitely like an option for me, but I don't know. I think that their website kind of turned me away a little bit.
Wow. So the websites don't help you, but they could hurt you if you don't do them right as an enrollment person. That's at least the opinion of one ninth grader. Go ahead. What's that, Emma?
So to make them look nice, even if
Let's
they
make them look
aren't the
nice.
best.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting because one of you and I went on a road trip to a sporting event for you like a year ago, and it was in a rural area, but a really well-known school. And I thought it could be a good fit for you, especially since you wanted to do like communications and journalism and things like that. I said, you want to pull over? You want to get off the highway and just swing by this college and just drive around a little bit? And you said, no, I'm never going to school here because it's too cold here and it's not near any cities, and I don't care whatever else they have. It's not what I'm looking for. And I was just wondering, that was the experience of you seeing the location that the school was in was a turnoff, even if the name brand of the school and the rankings and their focus on things that you might be interested in are right up your alley. And I was just wondering if the websites did something similar, like you saw a website that you said, you know what, nope, the website's too much of a turn off. I thought highly of this school, and then I saw this website, and it's not doing it for me. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, do websites have this impact? It sounds like it does if they're particularly not well designed, but there's nothing happening on those websites that are like really knocking it out for you that says, I've got to continue to check this school out because of how great their website is.
I think you summed it up pretty well.
Okay. What I heard here is your visuals have to be good, especially those videos to open the
Make sure
websites.
those videos are good.
Yeah, and you didn't talk about it, but one of those schools didn't have a video at all.
I'm looking at a video and it has people reading books in a hammock.
Well, it kind of happens in college. That's like part of the, like you do read books when you go to
No,
college.
but people reading books in a hammock just really has nothing to do with my interest in the school. So
Yeah.
don't put people reading books in hammocks in your videos on your
That seemed a bit
website.
contrived. Yeah, there's one school in there again. It was that school that didn't use a lot of white space on their website,
Yeah.
didn't use their branding properly. In my mind, they also didn't have a video.
Mhm.
It really seemed like it made the website seem dated, and I wonder if that's reflects on the opinion that people have of the
But I
institution.
also did see schools where the font overlays the video and it makes it hard to read the font and
Yeah,
distracting. So you also have to find that good balance.
yeah. Don't put too many overwrites. Okay, so power of visuals, clear navigation. I was so surprised to hear you talk about the navigation bar as much as you did. Like, I like the navigation bar. I like the
Well, because
navigation bar.
if you're trying to go for the sake of the podcast, I went through and I was looking at the school, but in terms of nobody's going on the website and scrolling aimlessly through the website. They want to go and find their one thing. So I think that's helpful.
All right, you liked your navigation bars.
Yep.
The first impressions, I think, had an impact, especially if there were poor first impressions. Too much information, not well thought out and laid out, is a real turnoff. You had a negative reaction on that, so encouraging folks to think through the ultimate design of the information that's on there, so it makes sense for the audience, at least if the audience is a ninth grader or a high school student like yourself. Concise. Keep it simple and don't put too much text on top of the videos so that you can actually watch the videos. And that's about it. More to come because you're going to be looking at more and more websites. But do you have any final thoughts, Emma?
Just making sure that you're using your school's logo properly, I guess, is very important. And the video. I really like the video.
Okay. Websites with video. Well, this is a great episode. I'm glad we tackled this issue. In a week's time, we're going to drop the third and final episode from this next series here. And we're going to focus on your impressions of what a college visit should look like from somebody who hasn't gone on a college visit yet. So what we're going to do is talk
I have
about
seen
what
colleges.
you have seen colleges, but you haven't gone on, like, you've seen colleges just because you've been in the area or you've had a sporting event on them, but not from the perspective of a prospective applicant.
Yeah.
So we're going to walk through sort of the elements of, visiting a college, get your sense of what utopia looks like. Like if a college was the land of Oz and you were going to go visit the Wizard of Oz for the first time, what would you expect on that college visit, and what will your expectations be? And then in a couple months' time, we're probably going to go maybe do a first college tour early on in your sophomore year just to get a taste for it. And we'll see what your expectations versus the realities looked like. So we'll talk a little bit about that next episode. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. If folks have questions about their websites, can they send you an email?
They can send me an email. We put it in the show notes again, I believe. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer in our next episode, you can also email me.
So that's it. That's a wrap for another episode. We appreciate everybody listening. All right, Emma, let's make like a tree and get out of here.
Let's make like a tree and leave, you idiot.
The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.